In a dungeon, his buddy Chaoji wonders, how is Yunche at such a low level killing these monsters solo? Luo Wei was the kingdom's greatest hero who got backstabbed by the king himself, and now he's been reborn in Yunche's body. Even being in a class that's considered terrible, he was able to clear a dungeon solo that was way above his level. Getting to know this modern world, he discovers they turned him into a villain, and someone else got the credit as the kingdom's hero. He starts training, leveling up, and his abilities made him unstoppable. High-level warriors tried to stop him, but they all end up the same way. Them fallen, and Luo Wei standing. Now he's out for revenge for being betrayed, even after giving his life for the kingdom. Luo Wei was a powerful SSS rank warrior who cleared the world's most dangerous dungeons. Because he was too strong and threatened the royal power, he was betrayed and killed in an ambush. At the moment of his death, his hidden ability Mirror World was activated and his soul was sealed in the lake for eternity. Decades later, a boy named Yun Che was getting beaten up when a dungeon suddenly opened, dragging his body to the lake and making Luo Wei reborn in a new body. He endured decades sealed in a lake only to be reborn as a tavern singer. A bard class is the weakest class in the system. Trapped in a dungeon with another guy named Chaoji, Luo Wei tries to use his skills, but none of them work. However, he discovers he can use his ability Mirror World and exterminates all the monsters. A monster's arm bursts through the ground and a boss that was hiding emerges. Chaoji looks at it in shock, but even so he jumps in front of the boss, summons his armor and shield, and gets thrown like a baseball. Luo Wei helps him by healing and tells him to watch and learn. Using strategy and combat experience, he clears the entire dungeon by himself, leaving only the Chimera. The boy channels his inner Levi versus Beast Titan and tears the monster apart piece by piece, hitting it over and over with no mercy until the Chimera's health bar hits 0. Chaoji just stands there completely lost, seeing a support class do all of that. Luo Wei realizes he used the same power as his old friend and asks if he knows Qiao Benben. Chaoji revealed he's a descendant of Qiao Benben. The protagonist is shocked to realize everyone from the past died and that the boy's great-grandfather carries a terrible reputation. Yunche was taken to the modern city and rode the tram along with a group of students. Yunche enters a historical memorial and discovers the truth that he was recorded as a traitor, and some guy named Ding Kun, who's the supposed hero. During the visit, a gang shows up and humiliates Qiao Zhe for being the great-grandson of the traitor. Everyone watches and nobody does anything because his family is known as traitors. When they try to beat him up, Yunche kicks the bully in the face and easily takes him down. Everyone is stunned seeing the bully who's from the hero's family get kicked. His friends try to get revenge, but they were all defeated with just one hit. The people around wonder who this guy is. The hero's grandson gets up with his active ability to increase his strength, and with his flaming hammer furious, wanting to defeat Lu Wei. But Lu Wei just dodges his attack and lands a cross right in the middle of his jaw, putting the boy to sleep. Everyone is shocked, wondering if he's really level 5. Soon an adult arrives to end the fight, and he simply leaves with his friend. While they were walking, Yunche wonders about the hero Ding Kun, and he discovers that besides being recognized for killing the traitor and saving the kingdom, he also kept his sword. With that, he decides his objective: kill this false hero. Arriving at Hero City, they run into some guards. Chaoji explains that this Hero City is crawling with guards because the dungeons are now privately owned. Rich folks like the Ding family keep private dungeons, letting their descendants level up easily. Regular people rarely make it past level 20. To access high-level dungeons, you need special passes controlled by the military or big organizations. Yunche and Chaoji break into the Ding Mansion's private dungeon. This dungeon is perfect. It's got low-level monsters, and our protagonist takes the chance to train Chaoji in real combat, teaching him to attack instead of just playing defense. Chaoji turns out to be talented, but insecure with excellent spatial awareness. But there came a point where he couldn't take it anymore, and Yunche had to bail him out. During training, Yunche discovers something interesting about his Mirror World ability, that it can also be upgraded. The two continued leveling up in the dungeon. With the MC's support, Chaoji took down several creatures, until the protagonist found a boss that was difficult to kill. At that moment, he realized that the attack boost had disappeared. Apparently, the duration of the effect had ended. It was a powerful technique, but it couldn't sustain long battles. The resistance also couldn't hold up in prolonged fights. Even so, the MC leveled up quickly, quite different from most. Moreover, killing those creatures gave experience for the Mirror World. While analyzing the skills, the family guards began their patrol, and Yunche needed to hide. Chaoji warned that it was risky to continue, and there were even fewer monsters now. He was right. Keeping an eye on the guards during the fight, while calculating the increase and duration of the Trickster's blade, was still too much for Yunche. From the newly obtained skill book, it became clear that not every reverse technique helped in combat. He still needed 30% to level up. At level 1, the reversal of skills was already absurd. The idea of what this would become after leveling up left the protagonist restless. If they could kill the boss of that dungeon, the skill would level up directly. Other instances might not even grant experience for the technique. That's why Yunche decided to check on the boss in the central area. As they approached, the detection activations became more frequent. Upon arrival, they saw the boss trapped and controlled by high-level chains. Many guards surrounded the monster, and attacking there would certainly attract reinforcements. At his current level, Yunche wouldn't be able to take down the boss under siege, so the protagonist would remove the protections first. But before that, he decided to interrogate a guard for information. Without beating around the bush, the guard said he would tell everything because the Ding family didn't pay enough for him to die for them. The MC went straight to the point. When asking about the Hero Dungeon Pass, the soldier explained that the old master's studio had piles of them. According to him, it wasn't something rare, only they were temporary and unregistered authorizations. Without an indicator, the bearer would surely be questioned. The protagonist told him not to worry about that detail. Then, he ordered the man to empty the system inventory. The two left the dungeon carrying the guard and collected the few items he had. On the way, the guy explained that the Ding family was greedy and confiscated almost everything that fell inside the dungeons. After that, they headed to the inner residence of the Ding clan. Common guards couldn't enter there without being called. Except for the young master Ding Shu, everyone there was level 30 or higher and used top-notch equipment. That's why the area didn't even need constant escort. The MC asked if the pass was in that house. The informant tried to warn him not to go because the family head was there. The mustached one was level 42, and Yunche would easily lose. The ancient master and the third chief were above level 50, although they were traveling on business. If that duo returned, everything would become even more dangerous. For now, however, only the family head was in the inner residence. The protagonist knocked out the guard and told Xiaoji to stay hidden. Soon after, he continued with the plan and went back into the dungeon. He analyzed that they were using high-level chains to control the boss. The dungeon wouldn't disappear while the boss was alive, so the key was the locking mechanism of those chains. In his past life, Yunche mastered the art of unlocking this type of containment. To force the family head to appear, this method was perfect. When the boss was freed from the chains, the guards panicked. Outside, the chief ordered all soldiers to reinforce the dungeon. With that, the inner residence became easier to infiltrate. At the entrance of the complex, the second master and the young master had just arrived. Ding Hao had gone to fetch Ding Shu after the beating on the school trip. With them also appeared Miss Yun Sha. The protagonist returned to where he had left Chao Zhi and asked if it wouldn't be better to leave since the Dings had returned. Chao Zhi questioned how the MC got there so quickly. The answer was simple, because it was a boss. Even being only level 30, it wasn't easy to capture such a creature alive. Without Yunche needing to cause another disturbance, they wouldn't be able to remove him anytime soon. Then the protagonist asked what Chao Zhi had seen. The boy said that person, Chao Li, was his younger uncle. At the time of the rebellion, the Chao family had already been massacred up to that point. In a way, this meant that the clan wouldn't have to face the humiliation that came afterward. Still, after that period, the family began to suffer the empire's cruelty at every moment. Under the secret instruction of hero Ding Kun, the bullying only worsened. In the end, they were left to become servants of the Ding family. They could only observe the expressions of the Dings and Bao, surviving with a minimal existence. Xiaozhi's father's generation tried to change things. The result was that the father lost his mind and became a madman. The uncle, on the other hand, became completely the Ding family's dog. After hearing this, Yunche decided to enter the inner residence. Chao Zhi tried to stop him, saying that Ding Shu was there and that if the MC was discovered, he would be killed. The protagonist says that, in this era of controlled dungeons, without taking risks, there is no hope of changing one's life. He also states that if someone keeps hesitating and worrying too much, certain things will never get done. The MC reinforces that he can help Chao Zhi change, but the choice must come from the boy himself. Chao Zhi gets nervous because the Ding family has power over the world. He wonders if it is really possible to fight against them. Yunche says he wants to fight against the entire empire and quickly heads towards the house. Inside, Ding Shu asks the maid how the dungeon boss freed himself from the restraints. The niece questions if it was a bad time to visit. Ding Shu replies that it's no problem. He says that the older brother handles that easily. Moreover, after hearing that the girl was willing to come, the father and the third brother started to return. They have also already contacted the heroic grandpa. According to Ding Shu, Ding Kun is very eager to meet the girl. Listening in secret, the protagonist remembers that, besides the pass, an escort is needed to enter the hero's dungeon, and that girl, by the way she is treated, has a high status. Yun Sha's surname is still the same as the protagonist's. Even so, for now, The MC needs to focus on finding the pass. He searches until he finds the family head's office. At the dungeon's exit, the old man was already returning after suppressing the dungeon lord. The chief already knew that the boss had been released by someone with ill intentions, but no trace was found. Taking such a risk couldn't just be for high-quality equipment. Therefore, he orders the guards to first surround the inner residence. He also cannot let any accidents happen while Yuncha is there. Meanwhile, Yunche finds nothing inside the man's office. After using the phasing ability, he opens a drawer and finds a diary and several high-quality skill development books. Outside, several guards patrol around the residence, and Qiaoji remains hidden. More and more guards arrive, and if the MC doesn't leave soon, he won't have a chance to escape. If Qiaoji runs too late and gets found, they will have another excuse to accuse him. The safest thing would be to quietly distance himself, at least to save himself. Remembering the protagonist's words, the boy gathers his courage, shouts, and runs away from there. The idea is to draw attention away so that Yunche can leave unseen. As if they were connected, the MC jumps out the window and begins his escape. He shouts to the guards that he has the chains and the skill books, so if they want, they can come after him. But the chief realizes that this is not a real escape, but rather an advance towards the dungeon, so he orders the guards to return and protect the dungeon. Qiaoji doesn't understand why they took the guards to the opposite side. The protagonist deduces that with so many people leaving, the boss must have been controlled. To hold the lord, they must have engaged in a heavy battle. This means that the monster's health is at its most critical point, and killing the boss will allow the mirror world skill to level up. In the hall, the girl comments that it's noisy outside, and that her uncle doesn't need to stay there keeping her company. Ding Hao says it's just a little thief, and that it's already being resolved. Outside, the mustached man is furious and desperate to catch the intruder. He runs ahead and orders thieves and archers to follow. Every class can add 3 attribute points upon leveling up, and half of Yunche's points were allocated to agility. Additionally, there are acceleration techniques around level 30, so only archers and thieves can usually keep up with him. Upon reaching the boss, he sees the monster surrounded by a seal, and that is indeed the weakest moment. He just needs to accumulate power to the maximum to finish him off in one go. All the guards of all classes already feel his presence there. The protagonist advances using chaotic thorns, a technique that no one there knew existed. It is a skill that applies abnormal status, and human resistance to this does not compare to that of monsters. Everyone is left confused as to how that is possible, because the abnormal status rate of that skill should be disabled. The MC is sure that if he crosses the defense line, he will reach the Supreme Lord with little health left. No one can keep up with the boy, much less resist his techniques. The team is heterogeneous and lacks real combat experience together. The commander orders the soldiers to hold their position because it's just one person, and as soon as they block the advance, he will die. Ding He declares that he will take care of the boy now. He goes all out, but the MC blocks the attack. Although the protagonist's level is still not enough to equip that weapon, he cannot obtain its attributes, but the durability is level 60. Taking advantage of this massive impact, he breaks the ceiling layer. With the enemy's strikes, he propels himself and advances towards the boss. Then he finishes off the Supreme Lord to gain all the experience he has to offer. With that, he levels up to 3, increases all attributes, and, as planned, improves the Mirror World skill. While the MC checked his own status and tested how the skill worked now, the enemy group took the opportunity to advance. When they got close enough to strike, he activated the technique and vanished from sight. Then, he fell into another dimension, a world inside the mirror. Everything seemed inverted compared to reality, but those guards were just illusions. The crystals on the ground, however, were real and could be taken outside. Thus, when this skill reaches level 2, it will be possible to bring items from the mirrored dimension. Curious about the system interface, he opened the menu and saw several deactivated techniques. That list displayed the inverted versions of all the skills. To activate them, however, he still needs to learn the basic techniques in practice, so the reversal at level 1 was just a simplified version of level 2. With that, he can start selecting strong combinations in advance and better plan class progression. While trying to understand the skill set, he saw several souls flying around. One of them advanced towards the boy and transformed into an undead. The creature fell with just one blow. Upon eliminating that soul, a menu appeared offering the option to form a contract for it to fight in the real world. The mirror world allows bringing undead into reality, as well as items. Outside, the master and the guards continued waiting, even after the dungeon had disappeared and the boy still hadn't come out. No one understood how he had vanished before their very eyes. The veterans knew that stealth has duration and pattern, so no one disappears forever without leaving a trace. However, the mustached one was furious and nearly beat his own soldier upon hearing this, demanding to know how the boy escaped. escaped. While he was pouring out insults, Yunche appeared beside them as if he had materialized from nowhere. Apparently, when the mirror walk time ends, he returns to the original point. Ding he shouted to capture the intruder, and the MC said he would repay the wait. Then, he summoned the army of undead gathered during the 30 minutes in the mirrored dimension. Ding he told the soldiers not to panic because they were just summoned creatures. When one of the guards approached a skeleton, he noticed it was only level 20. The mustached one promised bonuses for whoever captured the boy. When they turned their attention back to him, the target had already disappeared again. The army was just a distraction, as those summons were too weak to confront them. If he had a stronger troop, that disorganized crowd wouldn't hold up. Even so, among all the souls found, the 20 strongest were already contracted, and the mirror world has an exploration limit. Inside, he can only move within a radius of 200 meters. He will need to explore again in another location, perhaps to find higher-level monsters. As he moved away, he found Qiaoji being beaten by a soldier who had located the boy. The MC attacked the soldier, pulled his friend, and took Qiaoji away from there. The situation had turned into total chaos, so it was time to leave and check everything that had been obtained. The soldiers were still fighting against the undead, and they weren't strong, but they revived after falling, which made everything exhausting. Ding Ge arrived and explained that those creatures were summons, and that even though they revived, it consumed magic, so it was enough to defeat them a few more times. In the inner residence, a man was apologizing to the head of the family for not being able to keep Miss Yunsha due to the intruders. They not only ran away screaming from outside, but also broke a window of the house. Ding Dan was furious because no one managed to capture them, and they didn't even know what they looked like. The subordinate apologized, but said that Miss Yunsha had already agreed to go to the hero's dungeon. The old man stated that when they found out who did that, they would have to kill him, and that they needed to hurry to check what else had been stolen. With the pass in hand, Yunche still needed someone to accompany him to the hero's dungeon. This time, there was no rush, and at Ding Shu's house, he leveled up to 20. The Chimera Bone Ring was practically destroyed, but he picked up more than 10 skill books from the private collection. They were support techniques, and he could use them to accumulate attributes. With that, he would be able to crush people of the same level just with status. Moreover, the boss dropped a piece of equipment that would be useful later. The most important thing was the advancement of the skill to level 2. And the necromantic summons became much stronger. Still, it wasn't enough, and judging by the style of the equipment of that statue, the hero is at least an S-rank berserker branch. Now he needs to hire a necromantic spirit of at least the same level and reach level 50 or higher to have a chance of winning. Filled with fear, Qiaoji asked if the MC was sure that the soldiers wouldn't be able to reach him. The answer came calmly, because everyone had already been misled and no one saw their faces. The protagonist knew that Qiaoji was restless, and that everything was too heavy for someone of that age, so he asked his friend if there were dungeons nearby where a powerful person had died, because he wanted to find a higher level dungeon to gain strength. As for the reason for this search, he said he would explain when the time came. Qiaoji thought and remembered a dungeon where someone strong had died. The problem is that this place is at the school, and there's no way to sneak in. Since it's a monopolized dungeon, special methods would be necessary. So the MC sent some special books to the teacher. The idea worked, and the man was already thinking about when he could take him to the dungeon. There had been a recent opening, but the dungeon was released for students about to graduate, and elementary school students are usually not qualified for level 60. Still, a particularly outstanding student could participate in a guided visit with a teacher's recommendation. He would do his best to fight for a spot for the boy. The MC thought that this might be the last dungeon he would be able to enter in his life, so he needed to defeat as many monsters as possible. Even so, he realized that there was something strange about that place. The teacher explained that this is the dungeon gifted to the school by the hero, and that the hero had fought there, so there might be traces of him at some point. This story always shook Qiaoji, because supposedly, it was there that the hero killed the traitor Qiao En. The teacher continued saying that this dungeon is of high level, so everyone must act within their own limits, and asked Z to take care of the two. Z was not excited, because just thinking about escorting 2 dead weights already irritated him. He told the two that, once they entered, they should stay behind and not cause trouble. As soon as he entered, the MC felt a pressure too dangerous for a dungeon of level 20 to 40. Inside were also Yunsha and Yun Yin, 2 other freshmen. A veteran commented that it would be great if the girls came to his side because he would have extra energy accompanying them. Another told him to stop dreaming, saying that the 2 were above level 30 and that it would be them who should ask to be carried. When the girls started to walk, the group fell silent and just watched. The protagonist recognized the girl he had seen at the Ding family house and wondered why she was approaching. He didn't know if she knew the original owner of that body or if she was there to protect Ding Shu. When she got close, She said she saw him at the memorial yesterday and praised his skills and voice. While the MC thought it was just small talk, she leaned in and whispered that, because of his voice, it was easy to recognize him even amidst the noise of breaking glass. She had identified the protagonist just by 2 sentences shouted the day before. Then, the girl put on her battle gear, said they had talked enough for today, and invited the boy to explore first. She recognized the protagonist but didn't expose him in public, leaving the MC unsure if it was a warning or a provocation. Ding Shu might have also recognized the voices. Even so, if the Ding family doesn't come after him now, the leveling speed should ensure a good amount of time off. Since the girls were being friendly, he decided to warn the group as well. He advised caution because that dungeon had a dangerous aura. She also found the place strange, and with her level she shouldn't be feeling that, so she thanked him for the warning. The rest found the kindness strange because she usually wasn't like that. Several students surrounded the MC and asked how he knew Yunsha and if he could introduce them. He just told them to move along, and they tried to block the exit because they were just 2 freshmen. That first veteran told them to let them pass, because if the boy is on good terms with Yunsha, his level is probably not low. While some were still questioning, the veteran reminded them of the true purpose of the team, and the fewer people who knew about the place, the better. The plan was to collect as many of those precious crystals as possible without sharing with too many. He also wondered how a boy with such an ordinary appearance like Yunche could get close to Yunsha. Overcome by jealousy, he thought that the MC deserved to die for being so arrogant. At the entrance of the dungeon, Ding Shu arrived running, and the teacher asked what he was doing there. The boy asked if a team had just entered, and the man confirmed. On the day of the invasion, Ding Shu insisted that Yunche and Xiaochu were the intruders, but the masters told him not to blame the 2 just because he got beaten at the memorial. Still, Ding Shu insisted that he recognized their voices. The teacher replied that the intruders easily escaped from many guards, and that is not something a student could do. To back up this claim, Ding Shu would have to prove that the strength of the 2 surpassed that of the guards. That's why he went after the 2 to try to confirm his own argument. Inside, Yunche was defeating a series of monsters and farming experience. From a distance, Chaudhry helped with surrounding shield and a motivational shout, increasing attack and attack speed. Among the stolen books from the Ding family, there were both surrounding shield and motivational shout, practical techniques that Chaudhry could already learn at his current level. Even with slightly stronger monsters, Chaudhry's abilities made the fight much more manageable. According to the teacher, there was a rare monster in that dungeon, the Obsidian Beast. Killing it has a chance to awaken a support skill called gravitational attraction, exactly the technique that the protagonist had already marked as essential on the Mirror World list. And it wasn't just the Obsidian Beast that appeared there, as there were also undead. Who knows where those powerful adventurers died in that dungeon, since their souls might still be haunting the place of their fall. The boy hoped to find all those strong presences further ahead. However, in front of him was a horde of Obsidian Beasts. They moved together and had already traveled at least 1 kilometer, well beyond the range of normal movement. Wandering type is a rare dungeon monster, with no fixed spawn location, that roams the entire map. And it tends to be much stronger than common enemies. Before humanity became powerful, encountering one of these creatures meant resolving it with brute force. They could even wander beyond the limits of the dungeon and threaten human settlements. This caused numerous disasters linked to dungeons, but in exchange for that risk, the experience and items left far exceed those of normal enemies. Those creatures were too strong, so the protagonist decided to probe them first. After striking one of them, a continuous heal activated instantly. The attacks were quick and frequent. Not even at high speed could the MC dodge them all. Health and defense were low, and without Chaudhry's shield, the boy would have been severely injured. The army was summoned, but even the undead couldn't hold the line, although at least those beasts were relatively slow. HP and defense wouldn't improve anytime soon in the short term. To defeat that group, he would have to rely on his companion's defensive evolution after leveling up. That's why he called his friend to farm common enemies and speed up the leveling gain. Earlier, they had seen many opponents on the elevated terrain, perfect for leveling up. In group battles, the shield bearer is the essential first line of defense. Other classes hide behind him to deal damage, which increases the effectiveness of the protection. Since then, Chaudhry invested all his points in defense, in addition to the armor stolen from the Ding family guards. Now, with the central defenses of a true shield bearer, he could already withstand attacks from level 20 creatures. During the fight, the protagonist always gave tips on posture and rhythm. The durability of the shield decreased more slowly than before. In a quick warning, he asked for caution with the subsequent attack, but there was no time to dodge. Still, the MC helped and told his friend to anticipate the next strike, without swinging the shield too openly, leaving room for a counterattack. The next advice was to keep the mind alert, but the body relaxed, tensing only at the moment of the block. Then, he told the boy to advance, stayed right behind, and asked for constant attention to the allies in the rear. They charged at the beasts, and the MC continued motivating and guiding his companion. With growing confidence, Chaoji faced the enemies better, which also increased the experience received by the protagonist. Upon reaching level 15, the shield bearer was able to learn shield armor, which applies an external layer to the equipment. This was the last skill book from the Ding family that he managed to use. With the defense gain from this technique, the two could now face elite wandering types. Near the horde, a team was watching that cluster as it was too dangerous for students and needed to be eliminated. They even dealt with normal creatures of level 30, but elite wandering types were another story. Next, a flare appeared in the sky, marking a distress signal from a student. They would need to postpone the watch to rescue the student, but that threat still put the others at risk. One of the teachers volunteered to stay there, preventing any student from running into the beasts. The protagonist arrived and said he would stay too, since if the rescue team encountered a wandering type, 2 teachers alone might not be enough. He added that those creatures weren't very fast, and still hadn't noticed their presence. Keeping a distance and observing, everything should be fine, concluded the MC. The 3 agreed and reinforced that those beasts were extremely dangerous, so no one should act alone. The order was to stay hidden, because if seen, there would be no chance of escape. Even so, the protagonist and Xiao Zhi continued fighting against the enemies and accumulating a lot of experience. The MC successfully dealt with a wandering type and became increasingly accustomed to that group. Still, compared to his past life, he had a long way to go to reach the same level of mastery. At that moment, even with the inverted techniques, he was able to significantly boost his attack. However, the base attack of a support class remained low, and it would be great to increase that raw power. After leveling up again, it became clear that rare elite creatures gave too much experience. To his surprise, a high attack weapon dropped from the mobs. This didn't make up for everything, but it would make the fight much easier. The pity was that the gravitational attraction book he wanted didn't drop, as the rate seemed low. With a bit more luck, it would be enough to find a few more wandering species. Soon after, another signal appeared in the sky, coming from the same direction as the previous request, and this time, it was the signal used only by teacher teams. At the location, there were too many enemies gathered, and no one could even start a proper fight. So many creatures together seemed inexplicable. One of the teachers said he arrived there after the signal came from the cave, so someone must be trapped inside. Now it would be necessary to organize a rescue, but there were too many enemies, and even with everyone gathered, it still wasn't enough. He commented that it would be great if the 2 girls helped, and the young woman readily agreed. She used a buff that increased everyone's attack power by 20%. The 2 charged at the beasts, while the rest could only admire their power. With high-level equipment and skills, it seemed that even without the protagonist nearby, there wouldn't be a problem. Still, he was curious about what had attracted so many enemies to that area, so the MC told his friend he would go in to observe and asked him to stay with the group for now. Thus, the mirror walk was activated. The place was covered in crystals, so there was reflective surface everywhere, and he could access the mirror world at any moment. There hadn't been time to figure out the return mechanism because, at the Ding family's house, when the skill's time ended, he couldn't return immediately. People have ghosts, but monsters do not. Although the corpses of the creatures exist physically, the lingering doubt was whether, besides him, living beings do not have a physical form within the mirror world. He found the 2 who seemed to have attracted the horde, and since they were confined in a narrow area, they should be safe in the short term. The boy didn't know what was inside to call so many beasts, as everything was crystal, and that greatly hindered the perception of the path, until the real reason for Xiaozi's group going to that cave emerged, because there was special crystal ore there. Unlike the crystals outside, dungeons can produce special materials that do not exist in the outside world. Professionals with life skills use these materials to create unique items, such as equipment and accessories. Those ores were exactly that, and their value far exceeded that of an equivalent weight in gold. He was curious to know if he could send those crystals to reality. As long as there is a reflective surface, returning to the real world is possible from there. There was still much to discover about this ability, and it would be necessary to find an opportunity to study it calmly. For now, the priority was to explore the area. The amount of ore was unusual, and extracting all of it would be enough to turn an ordinary person into a billionaire. No wonder so many wandering species gathered there. Meanwhile, outside, the 2 girls continued fighting against the creatures, and everyone remained impressed with their power. Finally, Xiaozi's group was rescued from inside the cave. Yunyin asked everyone to stay alert because they would still need to fight to get out of there and everyone was already exhausted. Yunsha thought it would now be easier than before, but to their surprise, all the wandering species from the entire dungeon converged on that point. In the mirror world, the protagonist found himself in a place that resembled a labyrinth, until he found a crystal different from all the others and wondered if it was the secret treasure of the dungeon. If the crystal ores were the special products of the place, then that core would be the true treasure. A secret treasure is the condensed crystallization of all the special products of a dungeon and takes a long and irregular time to form. An ordinary person would probably never see something like that in their entire life. That's why every secret treasure, without exception, carries a special effect. It increases base attributes, offers damage reduction by attribute, and boosts stamina, which can greatly enhance maximum health. Additionally, a faster mana recovery allows for more skill accumulation. And the most important was the 20% damage reduction against light and electric types. Percentage reduction is rare even in high-grade equipment, and moreover, does not take up equipment space. The strange thing is that if ores already attract wandering species, with a secret treasure present, logic indicates a monster whose strength far exceeds that of common enemies. He decided to use the treasure and then leave. To pick up or activate that item, it would take 10 minutes of the remaining time. Meanwhile, outside, a secret boss appeared before students and teachers, leaving everyone frozen in fear. It existed independently of the Dungeon Lord, as a rare and hidden enemy. Its strength was far superior to that of a common boss. That was well beyond what teachers or students could face. Normally, wandering beings only appear in high-grade dungeons. No one could understand how that dungeon could have such a creature, and if it continued like that, everyone would die. Yunsha urged everyone to stay calm, because the most important thing now was to work together to escape. They can escape this basin through that canyon over there. As long as they get out of this basin, they can escape easily. So, don't hold back now. Use all your strength and move towards that place. Everyone obeyed the orders, and the teachers would help the weaker students to flee. The group moved slowly, maintaining defenses against the creatures, but it seemed like more enemies kept appearing from every possible direction. Some monster boosted the entire horde's attack, making defense even harder. Due to the very high damage, one of the teachers couldn't heal quickly enough and ended up being eliminated. Yunsha told the priest to prioritize healing the shield bearers. Everyone was very exhausted before and now they are just holding on. Plus the Wandering Lord hasn't even made a real move yet. Some of the young ones had lost hope of getting out alive and ran away to try to survive by any means. One of the teachers shouted for the others not to go with him, as the duration of stealth mode is not enough and won't last long. Then, to everyone's dismay, the Wandering Lord made the first attack, a laser that turned the boy who tried to escape to ashes. Not only that, in the process, it also brought down the canyon. That attack power is simply absurd, and hopes of escaping from there only diminish. This time, the Wandering Lord is coming after them, and there's nothing they can do to defend themselves. But 2 giant shields were summoned with a defense above 3,000. The shield bearers had to ask for help to hold that giant shield. This shield is a level 70 equipment, so its durability is guaranteed. However, since its level is very high, no one's level is high enough to equip it. This will give them a little more time to think. One of the students asked why the school's dungeon has this kind of monster. These questions were draining all the motivation from the teachers to defend the students, as even with so much effort, it seems to be all in vain. When he saw Qiaoji, the teacher recognized him from the valley and wondered how he had made it there. While he was distracted thinking about other things, a creature was already ready to strike him, so Qiaoji used the shield to protect him. The perimeter defense was broken first. There's no one left to stop these wandering species now. But Qiaoji could at least block the monster's attacks, and the teacher was impressed by his strength. But the guards' shields were all broken now, and the group's defense had vanished. When one of the creatures was about to finish off Qiaoji, it was cut into several pieces. Yunche arrived to save his friend and said he had done very well so far, and he asked to leave the rest to him and just rest. A little before returning to the real world, while exploring the treasures, he reflected that in the real world, he still possesses all that original. With this ability, all future harvests can be duplicated, but the crystals are difficult to extract. Revealing a single one requires consuming 10 minutes of skill time. For now, he will have to use the most valuable crystal core replica. While he was still there, he felt a strange vibration and decided to quickly return to the real world. Before the remaining time of the skill is used up, he can enter and exit at any moment. After full use, the technique enters a cooldown period. When he returned to the real world, he noticed that the number of creatures had increased, and even though they were attracted by the ore, there shouldn't be so many. The Wandering Lord seems to have been the source of the dangerous aura felt in the mirror world. Knowing that Xiaoji and the others were in danger, he quickly ran to help them. Now that he can use the ability to go back and forth from another reality, he can easily dodge the creature's attacks. Now that he is at level 25, the total mana is 140, and the mana recovery speed is 2.6 per second, thus the attack power can be increased by 330%. Although this is already absurd, he is facing a Wandering Lord who is even stronger than a dungeon boss. He still needs to reach at least level 30, as he is far from this guy's level. Back in reality, while fighting the creatures, he asked everyone with support skills to use them on him. He said he would take care of all those aberrations. Although the number of enemies is ridiculous, after using the secret treasure of the crystal core, his health increased several times, and there is a 40% damage reduction against light and electric types. So it is not dangerous now. These creatures are immune to confusion, otherwise killing them would be much faster. Those watching the fight couldn't understand how someone from a support class is so strong and what skill helped him teleport. With so many rare enemies gathered, leveling up is much faster. Yunsha had thought he was just a bold thief, but she didn't expect his strength to be a bit beyond hers. As everyone watched what was happening, they were dumbfounded by everything that unfolded. Another laser shot from the boss, and even now Yunche would not be able to withstand this attack, and the monster began to move. When it gets close, those two shields will not be able to protect them. With the decrease in monsters, it was the perfect time to try to escape, and the man said they should take the chance to flee, as no matter how strong one is, there is no way to fight against the Wandering Lord. One of the squires said it would be very difficult to move, and if they broke formation, they would be exposed to the Wandering Lord's attacks. Yunche said to leave it to him. He would attack and draw the boss's attention while the group took the chance to retreat. If this Wandering Lord is not eliminated, he will gather all the creatures from the dungeon and roam the outside world. In the past, almost all major cataclysms were caused by this type of monster. So, the MC intends to stay and massacre them all. The teachers told everyone to get out of there as quickly as possible, as no matter how strong this person is, facing so many creatures and the Wandering Lord will eventually drain their energy. The sooner they escape, the sooner Yunche can flee. One of the students questioned Yunche's talk about killing the boss, and the teacher said it was probably just to reassure everyone. Xiaoji was upset for being too weak and unable to help Yunche at a time like this, and hoped he would be okay after all this. Meanwhile, the protagonist was fighting against the boss and the mobs, leveling up very quickly, but the hits on the boss were proving useless due to his high defense. The small amount of damage he was causing, the recovery skill healed instantly. He still needs to reach the crystal on the head, which should be the core, meaning it is the weak point. But the attack power is still not enough. The buffs those people gave him are starting to wear off, and the magic points are reaching their limit, not enough to sustain the skill Blade of Deception for much longer. To face that boss, he will need to level up a few more times first. But the boss was already learning to deal with the movement. He could now predict where the MC would come out after using Mirror Walk. Yunche ended up taking a large-scale continuous attack, and there is not much time left to walk in the mirror. If he relies only on that to dodge, time will run out very quickly. Now he can only use the undead to block the attacks. However, resurrecting summons will consume magic points, and there won't be enough to accumulate attack power later. When he thought about retreating and regrouping first, Yunsha, Yunyin, and Xiaoji were already there to help him. The girl said that the friend begged and pleaded, so they had no choice but to come support him. Half embarrassed, Xiaoji said they have enough people there to escape. But, getting back on track, Yunsha said that hidden boss is still very dangerous, so they will protect the boy to retreat slowly. But Yunche said it wasn't necessary. With their help, he didn't need to hold back anymore. Now that the boy had reached level 30, his attack power was finally sufficient, and to help, he equipped the corrupted knight armor. The little witch asked if he wasn't thinking of climbing on top of the beast to attack its weak point, as at this point it's impossible to reach there. What Yunche always wanted, he had finally achieved, which is the gravitational attraction skill, a skill that pulls him towards a target object. So he told his companions that everything was under control. Using the new skill, he pulled himself to the top of the monster, reaching the crystal. When he started attacking the crystal, he began to take a lot of continuous damage, but he didn't give up and went all the way to the end, until he managed to break it at the limit of his HP, defeating the Wandering Lord, and thus receiving 5,000 bonus experience points, and also dropping a legendary book, Golden Light Shield and Angel's Protection. Yunche was very strong. He really killed such a terrible monster alone. The girl shouted to the MC that the monster was falling, and that he should get out of there. When it fell, it was possible to see that the inside of the mountain is completely hollow. Inside were the remains of wandering species and humans. It seems that an even more powerful wandering lord was born there a long time ago. That's why there are such intense battle scars there, and amidst all that chaos, something caught the protagonist's attention. The body of the deceased Xiao En, a friend from a past life. Yunsha said that person is that traitor and that she heard this is the place where he was killed by the hero Ding Kun, but she didn't expect it to be like this. This is clearly the scene after a desperate battle against countless creatures and people. It's completely different from the statue in the Memorial Hall of Modern History. That guy doesn't look like someone who would be trampled. Xiaoji said they may not believe him, but he thinks that the great-grandfather may not have been a villain. He spent his childhood analyzing the entire story about the great-grandfather. Whenever it came to the specific parts of the experience, the descriptions were vague, but he still discovered some details. He always went to dungeons that didn't match his level, and he questioned why an S-ranked, a professional above level 60, would go to such a low-level dungeon. Chaoji himself answered, saying it's because that dungeon can spawn a wandering lord. This is a source of great cataclysms that can summon all creatures from a dungeon to the outside world. In the past, the government didn't have enough troops to defend against the creatures that roamed all the dungeons, so they had to rely on some powerful and responsible professionals to regularly eliminate the creatures in the dungeons. And his great-grandfather was one of them. He went there to prevent the cataclysm at its root. Maybe they think the boy is making this up. The family also says he is seeking psychological comfort, which is why he interprets these words this way. Yunche told his friend that he believes him. He was the one who knew Ben the best and knew he wasn't a bad person. The protagonist remembers perfectly all the effort Chao En made to become strong, working hard, hidden from everyone, to surprise others with his evolution, and all the complaints the boy made about how Yunche distributed the points as it was impossible to keep up with him, always helping everyone he met along the way without worrying about the risk. Because of this, Yunche will have to settle the score with this Ding family. Meanwhile, at the House of the Wretched, Ding Shu told the superiors that Yunche is simply amazing. The professor who was at the front of the dungeon blocked him at the entrance and didn't let the boy in, but then Ding Shu waited until the people came out from inside, and they came out saying they saw the Wandering Lord fall. Everyone was commenting on the great battle that took place inside and who was the main one in that fight. Upon hearing all these praises and this incredible feat of the MC, Ding Shu was incredulous. Then one of the masters said to gather the guards of the Ding family and go to the traitor's dungeon, and he confirmed if the boy had said that the brat from the Chao family was with Yunche, asked to bring the members of the Chiu family as well. Yunche picked up one of the legendary books that dropped and handed it to Xiao Zhe to learn that skill, as there is no grade prerequisite. Yunsha questioned whether he would just give away a legendary skill for free like that. The MC replied that it is a skill exclusive to shield bearers and that Xiaoji's great-grandfather probably used that same skill. And the girl said that in fact, she doesn't even need powerful skills. Logically, her skills are of high grade, but compared to the protagonist, she is still far behind. Be it that skill that allows one to disappear suddenly or that which can summon so many undead. All the MC's summons are made from souls. Besides him, other souls will also go to the mirror world. Then Yunche thought he could use this now, went to the mirror world, and saw his friend Ben's soul connected to the body. Meanwhile, in the real world, Yunyin told the little witch that they should go, as there is an audience ceremony later. They had already been there for a long time, and it was much more interesting, and Yunyin was wondering what the hell Yunche was doing, and why he had been absent for so long. Back in the mirror world, the MC was in front of the friend he thought he would never see again. And it only remains to say that everything that happened is a pity. Ben really became an undead spirit, and Yunche does not want to fight against him. Looking into the eyes of that body, one could see all of Ben's life experiences, and the posture is very familiar, and he wonders what happened to his dear friend. Only the combat instincts remain in his soul. The only will was to leave that world for reality, but something was preventing it. It seems there will be no choice but to fight. Meanwhile, in the real world, the entire Ding family gang was outside, confronting Xiaoji and asking where Yunche had gone. Frightened, the boy asked why they were there and if they had come to level up as well. One of the masters of the Ding family told him to stop pretending and questioned whether he was not the one who led Yunche to sneak into their house. Xiaoji tried to deny it, but Ding Shu said he recognized the sound of the boy's screams from outside the house. The man said that none of this is important and brought a little gift for the boy. He brought the boy's entire family there, from the great-uncle to the mother. The old man told Xiaoji to kneel and apologize to the hero's family and to young master Ding Shu. The boy tried to retort, but the old man raised his voice and said that he had taught him from an early age how to behave in front of the Ding family. This infuriated the boy, who shouted if their family would be the Ding family's dogs for generations. One of the boy's relatives quickly knelt and said that for them, the descendants of a vile traitor, being dogs is already good enough. His mother asked if he was trying to kill the whole family. His father went mad, and she had to endure a lot of hardship to support the family. Then the boy told everyone to look at the situation before them, that the great-grandfather came to this dungeon to resolve the cataclysm early. It was because many people ambushed him back then that the great-grandfather was sacrificed. He recounted that he had been gathering information about Xiao En for a long time, but he still lacked conclusive evidence. Now the evidence is right before their eyes. His ancestor was not the kind of evil man who would betray the country. The truth is completely different from their propaganda. As long as they make this truth public, they can clear the great-grandfather's name and no longer have to live like this. The Ding family has no right to treat them this way. No one from his family should have died because of this. Although it is childish, it is how it should be. Everything you said is correct, said the master of the Ding family. He stated that Xiao En was indeed killed in an ambush and was really not some kind of evil man. In fact, it was the man's grandfather who made a fortune by ambushing Xiao En back then. But no one cares about that, for to everyone, he is an imperial traitor, thus vile. All descendants of traitors deserve to be so insignificant. He also said that even the boy's family really knows all of this. For otherwise, how do you think those people you mentioned died? He orders them to kneel, and they simply obey orders. The mother pleaded for the boy to admit he was wrong, to not resist anymore, as it is useless. After the father went mad, she really does not want to lose her son too. She can't take it anymore. In his mind, a woman appeared urging him not to listen to anyone. Ding Shu charged at the boy saying he would kneel, whether he liked it or not. But Qiaoji blocked the bully's strike, grabbed his leg, threw him to the ground, and said he would never kneel again. The little punk from the Ding family summoned his weapon to face the boy. He said he would make Qiaoji remember what it was like to be a punching bag. But Qiaoji summoned a shield and armor and struck his opponent again. Hitting Ding Shu even harder, he shouted to his mother that they are the descendants of a hero. The bully couldn't understand how this was possible, how Qiaoji could suddenly become stronger. Furious, as he was just a punching bag who had been beaten since childhood. But the boy struck him again, threw him to the ground, and said he was no longer who he was back then. Meanwhile, in the mirror world, Yunche's battle against Xiao En's soul was intense, as Ben, at his peak, had a huge difference in strength. If it weren't for being from a defensive class and being clueless now, Yunche would be suppressed in an instant. But it was Yunche who taught all the fighting techniques and knew his friend's weaknesses like the back of his hand. However, this is the defense of someone who has already surpassed level 60. Even with the accumulated Blade of Deception, Yunche couldn't deal that much damage. He still had to deal with the legendary ability, Golden Light Shield. In the real world, the fight between Xiaoji and Ding Shu continued, with our boy hitting and the fool taking the blows. His uncle had to intervene, as Ding Shu couldn't defeat the youngest member of the Qiao family, but the boy activated the Golden Light Shield ability and said the old man would just watch from the sidelines. Hitting the fool filled with hatred, he said the Ding family was nothing but cowards who didn't even dare to fight one-on-one. In the mirror world, Yunche was facing the same shield, but knew that the defensive power was not just related to the user's defense status. As long as he wasn't hit by an attack that exceeded double the resistance limit, he could withstand at least 10 attacks. But it was also a consumable ability. Even the smallest damage would consume energy. Once the energy was exhausted, it would break after accumulating 10 attacks in total. And that still wasn't enough to stop Master Ding. With the boy's body all beaten up, Qiaoji said that if his great-grandfather were there, they would all be on their knees begging for mercy. The man questioned what a useless idiot who died in a low-level dungeon could do, and said that if Xiao En were also there, he would have to kneel too. The old man approached the boy to end all that story and talk, but Qiaoji's mother threw herself in front of him, pleading for the third master not to kill him. She said she would do anything he wanted to let the boy live. Then the man told the boy that if he didn't kneel, he would kill his mother. But he quickly changed his mind and said there were still more people to kill, and struck at the woman. However, something stopped the attack, and with all that dust, it was impossible to tell who it was. When everything cleared, Xiao En's spirit was seen in front of the woman. No one understood what was happening, whether Xiao En had revived or something else. Yunche, beside him, said that before everyone despised him a lot, and because of that, it was clear that Xiao En would crawl back from hell to settle the score with everyone. The third master of the Ding family said that was just a show and told his henchmen to take care of Xiao En. Qiaozhi was amazed by the ancestors' blocking technique and the ability to face so many guards at once. The man said that Yunche had already summoned a bunch of those undead trash in his house, but this spirit was only level 33. Even if it was Chao En's spirit, it was still trash. When he charged at the soul, all the strikes were defended with a blocking technique, but the man thought this was useless against absolute power, and as his great-grandson, Chao Ji also used the golden light shield to defend himself. Yunche said that even as an undead, Ben was an S-rank undead. Just the golden light shield was enough to keep Ben occupied for a good while. The old man told everyone to attack to quickly exhaust the shield's energy, but everyone was busy fighting against the undead. Outraged, the master shouted that all of this is just undead, a bunch of summons. To solve this problem, the third master headed towards the MC, for if he kills Yunche, the summon will disappear. The third master still has a complete set of high-quality equipment from his grandfather, so just with strength, Yunche will probably not defeat him. After the first strike, the man thought he had hit, but couldn't understand why the boy was completely unharmed. When he went to strike again, he found no more MC, who reappeared above him and plunged the sword. After that, the protagonist retreated to Chao En, who helped by giving a boost with the shield. Like a missile, he advanced through the man, flying and slicing multiple times. Amidst all these strikes, the old man ended up losing an arm. When he shouted for the healer to help, Yunche was already glued to finish the job. To save himself, the old man used the gravitational shockwave ability to throw the MC off him. To mock, the protagonist asked what was wrong and if the old man was scared. The man shouted, asking why the healer hadn't healed yet. Looking to the side, he saw the healer being eliminated by an undead. Yunche's undead are much stronger than those he summoned at the Ding House. Yunche also used a legendary strengthening ability, and now they are far beyond what those guards can withstand. With nothing to do, the man thought about fleeing. But, as he ran out, several giant weapons closed off the path. This was an exclusive ability of the Sword Guard class. No one below rank S has ever escaped this. But if he wants, he can try again. The man grabbed an item and told the boy not to come closer, for what he was holding was a vacuum bomb. It is an S-rank item that his grandfather gave him, and if it explodes, even the boy with his current level and health will definitely die. Not worrying much, Yunche told the man to go ahead and detonate it. However, the man questioned if Yunche wanted to die, for if it exploded, unlike the MC, the man himself would survive. Yunche sent Ben towards the man, for even if it exploded, he could simply resurrect him. And as for Yunche, the man couldn't even hit the target. Thus, the old man lost another arm in the blink of an eye. The protagonist ordered the man to kneel before him. With the sword at the man's neck, he questioned what value he thought he still had. Exploring the things that dropped from the opponents, Yunche found hundreds of health potions. However, given the recovery speed of these potions, even if they were used, it would have been a drop in the bucket. After the old man died, the soul appeared in the mirror world, so the MC successfully trapped it as an undead. As expected, Yunche could expand the high-grade army by killing people. However, Yunche would let Ding Shu live for now, as he might be useful later. Chaoji's great-uncle was impressed with the strength of the man who guided his grandson, who is now much stronger. The rest of the family questioned what they would do now that the third master was dead, and surely the Ding family would come after them. Even if Yunche is strong, if he provokes the hero, there is no way to survive. The hero managed to kill their ancestor decades ago, and now he is even stronger. Our protagonist was listening from the side and agreed with them. If what happened there leaked, he wouldn't have enough time to increase his own strength, and he needs to level up quickly to the point where he can fight against Ding Kun. While thinking about what to do, he leveled up. Then he remembered that he sent undead to eliminate monsters, and now, with the current level and equipment of the soldiers, he could completely dominate that place. This dungeon is no longer sufficient to support accelerated growth, and that was one of the most important reasons to send the group, and he was in search of finding the boss of that dungeon. Unlike hidden bosses like the Wandering Lord, the boss is the core of the entire dungeon. As long as Yunche kills it, the whole dungeon will be released, and then the dungeon will dissipate along with the core. The entrance to the place is guarded by the teachers. When the Chao family was taken to the dungeon by the third master Ding, they were definitely seen. Now, if the family leaves on their own, it will surely raise suspicions. Only by directly clearing the dungeon and making the place disappear can the Chao family escape the chaos. In this way, the Dings will not be able to confirm the death of the third master, which will buy them a lot of time. Then the undead eliminated the dungeon boss, and the place began to dissipate. Yunche told the Chao family that the dungeon's dispersal would cause chaos, but the Ding wouldn't be able to react quickly to the disappearance of the third master. After escaping amidst the chaos, they would likely be safe for a while, and if they were truly pressured by the investigation, they should place all the blame on Yunche. By calling the undead back, Yunche saw in the status that the mirror world skill requires experience to reach level 3, and this can only be obtained by killing dungeon bosses. The last time this technique leveled up, it gave a great upgrade to the boy, so if it levels up again, he should be able to quickly close the gap with Ding-kun. Sometime later, in some private dungeon of a certain magnate, the guards were already bored protecting the entrance. Like a shadow, Yunche slipped into the dungeon unnoticed, and so it went in various dungeons, which, even guarded, nothing could stop the boy. In the protagonist's mind, he just wanted to get stronger to soon kill that stupid hero. But until then, he needs to hold back and stay calm. It's not easy to stay calm and not make mistakes, always limiting actions. All the newspapers and media were already talking about the dungeon vandal. Chaoji's great-uncle imagined it was Yunche who was doing this for so many dungeons to be cleaned suddenly, and he thought that, in this way, Yunche would draw the attention of the Ding family to himself. That's when he understood that Yunche was doing this for them. Otherwise, they definitely wouldn't have managed to escape to where they are now. The place is several days' travel from the Ding family and is very well hidden. With great difficulty, the family managed to hide there without leaving traces. Now they had truly managed to free themselves from the Ding family forever. As joy is short-lived, the wall behind them broke, and Ding Hao was there. Ding Hao said they wouldn't be chasing after that criminal's tail, even if the Chao family had no connection to him. Just for daring to escape the Ding family, they needed to come pay a visit, and he warned them not to underestimate the hero's family. He also mentioned that they had already discovered the whereabouts of that criminal. Yunche was before the hero's dungeon, ready to take Ding-kun, now with the mirror world skill at level 3. The private dungeons the protagonist completed before were at most level 30. If it continues like this, the efficiency of leveling up will be very low. However, the higher level dungeons are like the hero's dungeon, controlled by the state and guarded by the army. No one could get within a 2-kilometer radius. Every time he enters the mirror world, he can only explore within a radius of 200 meters. There's no way to get in there without being discovered. He will have to ask for help from Yun Sha. But upon finding Yun Sha, the girl already asked if Yunche wanted her to take him into the dungeon and said that this couldn't be done. She doesn't know what Yunche knows about her identity, but even she can't enter without permission. For this, the protagonist had already shown 2 passes to Yun Sha. One temporary pass, to be more specific, requires someone to accompany the bearer to prevent the bearer from being searched and investigated. Yun Sha asked why Yunche wants to enter this dungeon without being discovered after passing through the Ding family. The MC reminded Yun Sha about Chao En's state in that traitor's dungeon. Since Chao En isn't as weak as they say, there's probably something suspicious about the rebellion back then. And Yunche wants to help a friend clear the Chao family's name from this humiliation. He wants to confront the hero and clarify things. The girl asked if Yunche thinks she is an idiot and said she would set aside Yunche being a complete stranger and offending the hero for any reason. She also invaded the Ding family's complex. Somehow Yunche predicted what would happen to Chao En and went to steal this pass in advance. Moreover, it hasn't been long since the 3rd master of the hero's family entered the traitor's dungeon, specifically to cause trouble for Yunche and Xiaoji. However, the old man has been missing since then. Clearly, this doesn't seem to indicate he is preparing for a confrontation with the hero. It's more like he holds a grudge against the hero, and his name is Yunche. Because of this name, Yun Sha asks if the boy is related to the traitor Yunche. Our protagonist countered this, saying that her last name is also Yun, and she could also be related to the same traitor. Yun Sha said that she hasn't done everything that Yunche has been doing, and, moreover, her last name isn't really Yun, and she changed it because she didn't want to be bothered. With that, the MC asked how Yun Sha can be sure that the MC's last name is really Yun. The girl questioned whether Yunche knows the risks he is taking, and that he could die because of it. Confidently, Yunche replied that he is sure he won't die. He is certain that the person who would make themselves available to the students in the dungeon, regardless of the danger, is not someone who would help the Ding family. Yunche handed the girl a diary stolen from the Dings, in which the supposed descendants of the hero report numerous evil acts. The girl said he was mistaken, as she doesn't care about such things. On the other hand, she thought Yunche was sensible, but he put his life so easily in someone else's hands and asked if he had never been betrayed. Yunche replied that it doesn't matter, as he won't stop trusting others because of that. He stated that he trusts her. True nature is not evil. She said that if he trusts her so much, then he should follow her, because she might change her mind along the way and turn him in. Yun Sha was thoughtful, as she hadn't imagined that, at this moment, she could still be considered a good person. Upon arriving at the dungeon entrance, the guard recognized her immediately and said that the hero had been waiting for her for many days, and they had received orders to let her in directly. But he questioned why she didn't come with the old master Ding Dan, who just entered the dungeon. The guard asked if the hooded man is her protector, and said it's not out of doubt. But when the old master entered, he instructed that, since the family's temporary authorization was stolen, they need to be very careful. After that, the girl asked if that was an interrogation. Awkwardly, the man said it was because they had received a recent warning that the criminal who has been clearing dungeons is heading to the hero's dungeon. As the guard finished speaking, Yunsha said they insist on bothering him and asked if he wants them to examine her protector, since apparently they think she wouldn't be able to recognize her own protector. She joked that maybe she herself was swapped and asked if he wants to check her too. Then the guard said they wouldn't dare, since Miss Yunsha is so certain, and allowed her entry. The girl's status is even greater than Yunche imagined. Yunsha said that because of the trust, she brought him this time, and she also won't interfere with what he plans to do. But that's just until there, as she won't be able to help any further. Yunche thanked her and left an undead with her, so they wouldn't suspect her because of what comes next. Finally, the protagonist will be able to use the ability acquired after elevating the mirror world to level 3. At level 3, the mirror world can replicate monsters from the dungeons of the real world. From now on, he can freely crush monsters in the mirror world without worrying about being discovered. More importantly, even after leaving the mirror world, the undead can still remain and help level up. Meanwhile, it is also possible to conduct a proper reconnaissance of the city built inside the dungeon. According to the information in the Ding family's diary, that is where Ding Kun is. All that is known about the hero is that he reached rank S decades ago and seems to have never shown his strength in public since then. If the MC had more detailed information, he would have a better chance of dealing with him. Logically, in his past life, Yunche knew everyone who reached rank S, but Ding Kun simply appeared out of nowhere. The protagonist even tried to ask Benben's soul if there was any clue about who he is. It's still not enough, as even with the mirror world at level 3, the intelligence of the undead has only been significantly enhanced. Benben's improvement was the most obvious, but it still hasn't reached the point of being able to communicate. Perhaps, if the ability continues to evolve, Benben will regain more of his consciousness. Inside the castle, they commented that they couldn't just do nothing now that the third brother has disappeared. They also talked about the appearance of the criminal near the hero's dungeon. To kidnap the third son, the invader must have also reached rank S, so they requested the intervention of his father, the hero Ding Kun. The hero crossed his arm over the man's body and said that a grown man who can't even take care of his own son has no right to tell him what to do. He said that, for only just reaching Class S at this age, to meet the requirements for class change, and not even being able to withstand a single blow, that was shameful. The only reason to keep trash like him around was to take good care of the grandson, but in the end, he not only lost him, but now wants him to clean up all the mess made. Without the third child, the hero lost a blood relative, and that reduces life expectancy by several years. Meanwhile, Ding Yan, one of the hero's descendants, was having fun watching men play and behave like dogs. In comparison, what the Ding family does outside the dungeon can be considered quite restrained. Seeing that scene, Yunche wondered if he should reveal himself. Looking to the side, he saw Benben's soul trembling with anger, for even in its current state, it was still eager to help those in need. Among the children in the disaster-stricken area at that time, Qiaowen and Lan Qian were the kindest and strongest. That's why Yunche took both as disciples and trained them. The expectation was that after strengthening themselves, they would help others. But in the end, it was the master himself who hurt the boy, turning the poor thing into what he is today. While thinking about the past, Benben's spirit began to try to speak. Yunche was surprised and asked if he was conscious and able to talk. With difficulty, Benben said that Lan Qian is Ding Kun. Inside the castle, cleaning the blood armor, the hero wondered if the guy using Yunche's name was trying to provoke him. He never thought he would hear that name after so many years, and he wants to see who dares to impersonate his dear master. Outside, Ding Yan caught several monsters he treats as pets to give the remaining humans as food, and said they are just things he got tired of playing with. When the monsters charged at the humans, before touching them, they were turned into minced meat. Yunche was distraught after discovering that his disciple, Lan Qian, had become Ding Kun. The guard protecting the Ding family's worm stepped forward to defend the heir from the bold intruder who entered the hero's domain to die. But the MC only wondered how Lan Qian became the hero who created scum like this. In the past, Yunche taught the two that, due to the unconventional power of class holders, this is no longer the era of knights. But, as descendants of knights, there are still things he wished to pass on to them. Under that guidance, their strength would certainly far exceed that of ordinary students. If they wish to continue learning, they should remember these points. First, be humble. There is no difference between you and others, so maintain courtesy and respect for all. When they ignored orders, the master always reminded them they were wrong. While recalling the past, Yunche fought against the two, or rather, beat them both. Even grade 30 equipment of legendary quality was no longer a match for Yunche. Ding Yan said he would show what power at a different level is. The second point is that you must be compassionate and treat the weak with kindness, especially the defenseless. Always use a benevolent heart to fight against those who practice violence and evil. Yunche saved Lan Qian from the slave market, so he should understand the impossibility of the weak. In battle, Ding Yan created several illusions of himself to try to make it harder for the opponent, and joked that now he has much more to enjoy cutting, but his face always seemed filled with explosive rage. And he questioned whether it was because of those bums and if any family member was among them, because that would be interesting. He said it would be interesting, after finishing them off, to realize he was actually taking down his own. Using the mirror world ability, Yunche easily identified which were the real ones. Then he charged at the two who were left stunned to see that the boy knew whom to focus on. The third point taught was that you need to be brave, fearless, and determined, for in dungeon battles, there should be no cowards, and one must fight for justice. When the opponents were too strong, the master always helped. Ding Yan was frightened by that guy's strength and told the protector to stay in front and block the attacks, to give him time to escape. And he ran away, saying that if something happened, his grandfather would kill him. Without illusions, it's hard for a conjurer. When he turned his attention back to the opponent, he no longer even knew where he was. But Yunche appeared behind him and struck him. When he fell, the man begged for mercy, saying he was not from the Ding family, he was just hired, and that the one who should be pursued is Ding Yan. The fourth point is the spirit of sacrifice. Ben had been dragging the Ding family's worm along. When he saw what happened to the guard, Ding Yan was horrified. The fifth point was honesty, and the sixth must be justice. The seventh is honor. The eighth, soul. Lan Qian not only ignored the master's teachings but also betrayed Yunche and Ben, and still allows his descendants to commit all these evil acts. Then Ding Kun appeared behind him, punched him in the ribs, and said he seemed to be having a lot of fun in his own dungeon. After being thrown away, Yunche got up and equipped all the items he had. As the hero walked towards him, Yunche asked why. Using mirror skills and striking Ding Kun, the MC asked why he betrayed them. Ding Kun was impressed that his armor was broken and praised the opponent's abnormal speed and strength. Yunche called out his true name, Lan Qian, and asked again why he betrayed them. The hero was intrigued that he called himself Yunche and also knew his old name. Charging at the MC, he asked if it was the old man who sent him. The protagonist skillfully dodged the blow, and Lan Qian said pretending to be his master was a bad joke. Striking again, the MC questioned again why he betrayed him. Lan Qian said he was nothing but a tool, and therefore had no reason to speak further. The fight was of big players, only very powerful attacks. Ben's spirit, upon seeing Ding Kun, recognized him immediately, and charged at him, filled with hatred. Ding Kun grabbed Yunche by the neck and threw him to the ground with all his strength, while asking how the opponent managed to survive. The pressure was brutal, and Ben didn't even get to activate the golden light shield. At that moment, Lan Qian understood that the former companion was nothing but a zombie. Even if it was treated as rebirth, the soul of the former friend seemed to have lost almost all intellect. Some of the hero's children appeared and asked their father to leave that little thief with them. To deal with the group, the MC gathered some summons and released others, reorganizing the army. Among the new pieces was the third son. When Ding Kun saw that, the confirmation came in the same second. Hatred increased along with curiosity about the intruder. Thirsting for revenge, the hero advanced because of the third son. He also demanded that the boy prove he was the true master. He told him to ask any question because he would hide nothing. He also demanded that the other stop omitting whatever he was hiding. The protagonist remembered that back then, even locked in a cage, Lan Qian still found a way to help others. Now, the same man seemed like a monster, and Yunche didn't understand how the change came to this point. Ding Kun asked if all of this wasn't the master's fault. The MC responded with another question, reminding who freed him from slavery and who turned him into a competent professional. After enduring some blows, the hero advanced and asked why the rescue came too late. He asked why the master only appeared after so much pain. He asked why being a disciple of a knight, or the son of a knight, became comfort for Ben. He asked why Qiao Ben received the same treatment without suffering anything. He asked why Ben was better than him at everything. Screaming to the heavens, Ding Kun questioned why the master preferred Ben. He also questioned if the preference came from the fact that Ben was born cleaner. Lan Qian still demanded to know why he was pushed onto the berserker path. He said that shyness became a sentence and that it should never have happened. He asserted that the right path would be guardian knight, with stronger defense. Yunche asked when he favored either of the two and said he always saw effort on both sides. He also reminded that Lan Qian always said he wanted to be braver and stronger. Ding Kun countered by asking if the master didn't prefer that kind of person. He said he also tried to mold himself that way and still was never chosen. He asserted that deep down, the master despised his birth and that knightly virtue was just theater. He claimed that no virtue improved his life. He said that privilege always came from power and status. The hero also mocked Ben Ben, calling the squire an idiot deceived by lies. He said Ben Ben wasted time and opportunities to rise just to save strangers. Even so, Yunqi still called him a traitor. Lan Qian said that just as someone chooses to give up, they can also choose another path. He said Luo Wei would give greater status and power than any oath. He told the master to look at Ben Ben's descendants. He told him to look at his own descendants. He said that, for Ben Ben's lineage, the only option left was to become a slave to the Ding family. He made the MC face who Ding Kun is today and confront Luo Wei's status, and he ended by asking who made the right choice. This left Yunche furious and even more determined to settle the score for Ben Ben. With a series of attacks, the protagonist gradually broke the hero's armor. The MC said that Ding Kun could not be compared to Ben Ben. He said that the traitor didn't even reach the toe of the squire. The protagonist recalled that 60 years ago, Lan Qian was already a loser. Now, he couldn't keep up with his own master's current strength. Yunche asserted that the more he hurt Ding Kun, the stronger he would become. The master easily saw the pupil's weaknesses and said there are two clear weaknesses in this berserker route. The first is low defense, because the change requires high attack and speed, so defense cannot be stacked in the distribution. Moreover, several techniques reduce defense as a side effect, so even skeletons can deal damage. The second is the lack of area attacks, because, aside from the storm cut from the past, almost everything becomes a linear strike. The protagonist said that the mana recovery itself sustains a certain number of undead, so the hero wouldn't be able to eliminate them all. Ding Kun activated Blood Rain and questioned who said there are no large area attacks. With a single reaction, the MC held back the blow and stated that the hero's greatest weakness is having no one to trust. In the past, Ben Ben and Lan Qian fought together and covered each other's flaws. Now, the shield that protected has turned into the blade that cuts. As someone who rose to power through betrayal, the master said that Ding Kun has no one close and asked if that was what he wanted. The hero charged again and asked if Yunche still insisted on talking about friendship and trust. He said that the master had already died once, while the traitor enjoyed power for 60 years. Therefore, Ding Kun claimed he was right. He asserted that he didn't need comrades. Then he shouted and called his sons and grandsons to fight. He said he didn't need comrades because his own lineage would fight for him. While pouring out these words, the MC wasted no time and ripped off one of the opponent's arms. The sons watched from afar, not understanding if their father had completely lost it. Ding Kun shouted for them to heal the wound immediately. Filled with fear, one of them asked how to fight someone that even the hero couldn't defeat. Upon hearing this, the traitor became enraged and flew towards the master like a bullet, grabbing the boy's neck. He said that everything the kid has was given to him and asked if he knew why he was born. He claimed that it was for the hero's health and longevity, so no one could refuse. Lan Qian ordered the other two to run and block Yunche. He said that if they failed, they would be absorbed too. When he began to drain the power from one of the sons, the MC summoned undead around and eliminated all of them, including the one in the traitor's hands. When the dust settled, Ding Kun looked around, trying to understand where everyone had gone. Then the protagonist asked if the hero couldn't keep up. Behind the appearance, the master said that Ding Kun is still an old man inside and called him to enjoy family happiness. Seeing his sons turned into undead, the hero went into shock and ran away. But the MC chased after him and asked if he thought he could escape. He said that Ding Kun could have friends, a master, sons, and everything he wanted. Now, all that remains is their hatred. And from then on, the hero would have to face the end he chose. Over 60 years ago, Lan Qian and Ben Ben successfully changed classes and reached rank S. As a master, Yunche had something to give to both of them. The MC sent top-tier materials he had saved over the years to the divine craftsman and, with a lot of luck, managed to forge weapons of mythical quality. These were the best possible weapons of that time's grade. Ding Kun received a large sword in his own style, so the adaptation would be natural. Ben Ben received a shield axe that fit perfectly into the new class. With his talent, the master was sure that the squire would master it quickly. Ben Ben asked what his friend was staring at. He also asked why the master never changed weapons because it seemed outdated. Yunche replied that that sword would never need to be replaced. The flowing cloud sword was the supreme equipment, made with all the accumulated resources. The master spent years collecting secret treasures from high-grade dungeons. Until one day, he managed to infiltrate an SSS-grade dungeon, and only then was the weapon forged in the ancient forge. Even so, it was just the initial embryo. As independent equipment, it has its own method of awakening. It changes like flowing clouds and can take any weapon form the user desires. Therefore, synchronization with the bearer is the real condition for the product to assume its final form. Throughout bloody battles, the master learned to shape it according to his will. The weapon adapts to changes in the user's own strength. At that time, Ben found it incredible, and the master let him test it. Years later, Ding Kun used that same sword to deliver the final blow to Yun Che and forge the history of the rebellion. In the end, the protagonist managed to get his hands on that uniquely crafted equipment. Returning to the present, the sword was once again before the master. At the time when Yun Che was on the front lines of the dungeons, moving forward was difficult. Even so, the MC never backed down. He believed he would overcome any difficulty, all to live a peaceful and stable life with Lan Qian. But, because of the pupil's greed, everything was destroyed and thrown away. The master said he does not care about the empty title of hero. In the hands of the traitor, the flowing cloud sword became just a large sword. The MC remembered that Ding Kun betrayed the master and betrayed Ben. For that reason, he would now have to face the end he chose. Ding Kun tried to blackmail and asked if the master did not want to know everything that happened. The protagonist replied that everything the hero knows will also be ripped from him. Sometime later, sitting on the throne that once belonged to the hero, the MC controlled his spirit and made him tell everything. The journey of revenge was just beginning, and for that reason, the protagonist needed to grow stronger and stronger. Due to the restrictions imposed on the dungeons, the highest level a common person reaches in life usually hovers around 30. Even someone exceptionally talented needs to enter an official organization and be promoted to the end. Still, the maximum tends to stay close to level 30, because there is a huge chasm at level 60. After fulfilling specific conditions, a professional can still evolve. It unlocks higher-grade equipment, attributes, and exclusive skills. Only those who have completed the class change can surpass level 60. To change classes, it is necessary to have a class change certificate, something extremely rare. Even in the past life, when dungeons were open to everyone, only 1 in 10,000 managed to change classes. Now this process is even more controlled by the authorities. In the family of heroes, only Lan Qian possessed a certificate. No descendant of his had changed classes. The difference in power before and after a class change is like the difference between clouds and mud. Ding Kun changed from warrior to berserker and learned exclusive skills like berserker body. His strength increased several times. Without the mirror world, the protagonist would have had no chance of defeating Ding Kun. With the foundation of the mirror world, a personal class change can take that power to another level. This doubt kept hammering, because the evolution can be absurd. Everything was already cleared to initiate the class change. Upon opening the menu, the option to become a war dancer or bard appeared. The desired class had been decided long ago. Very few professionals manage to change classes successfully. Among the class changes of singing, this is the only one that offers a truly offensive package. Shortly after choosing, the Mirror World interface asked if he wanted to revert the War Dancer class. It never crossed his mind that it would be possible to revert his own class. From the 8 basic classes, numerous branches and class change professions emerge. Each class change has its own area of specialization. Still, there are always exceptions. There are many hidden class change professions. The more requirements a mission demands, the stronger the class tends to become afterward. As a war dancer, the mission requires speed above 55 and spirit above 65. Normal chance would never distribute attributes so extremely. Additionally, the mission asks for a very rare item called Blood Core. It is a blood crystal that needs mass killings to accumulate energy. For a support class without consistent damage, obtaining this is a nightmare. For this reason, only a tiny group can complete this class change. Now the War Dancer class received a reversible enhancement from the Mirror World. The mission requirements were also inverted and multiplied. The inverted requirement seemed absurd. By logic, the inverted requirement should be, at the very least, on the same level as the Mortal Blood Core. This item is a priceless treasure capable of continuously generating potions that fully restore health. Each life nursery is highly sought after by high-level professionals. With this resource, a professional team can even forego a healer class. With such high requirements, the resulting class must be incredibly strong. The initial idea was that leveling up the mirror skill would slowly unlock this mirror world. It seems the system is much more complex. The inverted world contains common monsters as well as dungeon bosses. If even class changes can be reversed, the functions of each level still have room for exploration. Even so, the priority remains class change, as it accelerates strength growth. Suddenly, to the guard's shock, the hero's dungeon began to disappear before everyone. The next day, all media outlets were talking about the incident with the Ding family. There was still no concrete information about the suspect. No one wanted to believe that the hero had actually been killed. The leader of the guards ordered total searches and demanded everything within reach to capture the criminal. At the castle of the Supreme King Luo Wei, news arrived that Lan Qian had died. There was no further information, as no guard official could explain what happened. A subordinate reported that he requested verification of the entry logs. Data from the Public Security Department also arrived. The main suspects at first glance are Yunsha and Yunche. The second name sounded nostalgic to the king. Everywhere, no one talked about anything other than the hero's dungeon case. At school, the topic was relentless. Yunsha only listened from afar. She still couldn't believe that the young man had killed Ding Kun. She also knew she helped with the entry, which makes her an accomplice. For a moment, she considered reporting it. If she did that, they would probably never meet again in this life. To her surprise, Yunche was walking calmly through the school. The item needed for the class change is far too precious. Generally, only someone of high rank would have access to it. Speaking of high rank, the easiest contact remains Yunsha. Her demeanor makes it clear that she comes from a noble lineage. Lan Qian's spirit asked the MC if he knows Yunsha's true identity. According to him, Yunsha is Luo Sha, granddaughter of Luo Wei. The revelation caught the protagonist by surprise. The girl was the granddaughter of his brother. Even before speaking with Yunsha, a crowd approached. Many people were grateful for the defeat of the Wandering Lord, as several lives were saved. The students wanted to express their thanks, and the school seemed ready to offer a reward. Even so, being exposed there could attract the Ding family. The third master of the Ding family disappeared in that dungeon. The family is searching for him everywhere. Being strong, Yunche could become a key player in an interrogation. Despite this, the concern isn't that great, since the hero has been eliminated. The Ding family only linked the theft of the past to the invasion because of the voice. There is still not enough evidence. For now, only the Ding family should suspect. A classmate commented that the dungeon destroyer is also being hunted by public security. Getting caught by those people is the last thing the MC wants. The current surveillance is excessive. Patrol teams cover the streets, and all seem dangerous. Moreover, cell phones allow for instant reporting. Without the undead to create confusion, getting back there would have been nearly impossible. Since the school is full of students, just maintaining Yunche's role is enough to reduce suspicion. The main point is to learn how this era works without raising dust. A boy claimed that the blame for everything lies with the dungeon destroyer. According to him, without that, neither they nor Yunche would be suspects. The MC just observed from afar. Some complained about having killed the hero, even with the horrors committed by the Ding family. Anger didn't arise because these people grew up hearing the official version of the story. The conversation continued until a boy stated that the hero is not like in the books. He said he had a video to prove it. Someone secretly filmed the moment when the hero's dungeon dissipated. Everything indicated that people inside had been enslaved and mistreated for a long time. The protagonist felt a sense of expectation that things would change from there. In the midst of the discussion about the video, Yunsha confirmed that it was real. She mentioned that she was invited recently. She also said that the images show only a small part of what happens. This is no secret to the bigwigs. The chatter ended when she took the MC by the hand and ran away. They went to an isolated place. She asked why he returned and if he wasn't afraid of a security investigation. She also questioned if he wasn't afraid of being reported. The answer came just like before. He believes that her nature is not evil. She said that, considering the evils of the heroic family, it's better that they are dead. This means that a favor is still pending. The young man replied that he noted everything she had said. At the same time, he wondered why Luo Wei's granddaughter helped with the infiltration. The Ding family is despicable to her. It remains to understand what her relationship with Luo Wei is. Doubts piled up. If the goal is to take down Luo Wei, using Luo Sha might be a way. The MC forced himself to focus on the immediate objective. The next question was about the life nursery. She confirmed that she knows it. She said that the nursery produces the essence of life. She added that the former director has one. Using the mirror world, the protagonist entered the director's office and saw that there is a seedling in the collection. Basically, all the life nurseries he knew had been acquired by that director by any means possible. Upon entering a secret room, he came face to face with an entire plantation of life nurseries. The protagonist couldn't believe there were so many. Everything was sealed by the director's magic circle. The idea was to obtain a copy of the life nursery, but he didn't expect the matrix to activate even within the mirror world. Despite knowing sealing formations from his past life, that setup was quite different from what he remembered. There are many things from this era, and with his current strength, he still can't break that seal. Even if the attack power was sufficient, destroying the formation through brute force would also end up destroying the items stored there. For now, the best option is to retreat. The director is much stronger than Ding Kun, and without a class change, the MC probably won't be able to do anything against him. Therefore, there are only two ways to obtain the life nursery. The first option is to wait for the director himself to open the formation and cross through the mirror world. The second is to learn more about this era, familiarize himself with the unknown parts of that formation, and find a way to decipher it. He went to the school library and started with general knowledge books because building a solid foundation is more important than anything else. When he resurrected, he was impatient, as times had changed too much, and without understanding that, he might not even be able to face Luo Wei. He even dismantled some machines he had copied before, but he couldn't understand them at all. They say that Luo Wei was the driving force behind this development. Reading, he discovered how mana cores are used, but he still doesn't understand the principle behind it. Except for dungeon items, these parts are easy to comprehend, but the interaction with dungeon items is full of doubts. Although some questions have been answered, many others have arisen. And much of this knowledge is vague and requires consulting other books. The most important information might not even be recorded. The more popular the book, the greater the chance it has been censored, so perhaps only unpopular niche works, or even rare copies, contain what he seeks. But among those books, there are even more useless ones, and just selecting them would probably take a lot of time. While searching for more titles, he saw Yun Yin sitting in the corner reading. When she noticed him there, she became embarrassed, and the boy said he just wanted to grab a book. He mentioned needing something about dungeon product principles and mechanical structures, and she handed him a copy. Before leaving, he asked if there were other books related to mobile communication in the library. The next day, he returned and picked up more volumes she recommended. Although Yun Yin is cold, the boy feels, in some way, close to her. It seems he finally had the chance to come to the library to read in peace while Yunsha rests. Perhaps, after getting to know each other better, the protagonist can discover something about Luo Wei and Luo Sha with her. As the days passed, the MC tried to get a little closer. He asked questions about the books and clarified doubts, always asking for help to find more titles, until the girl asked why he didn't just ask that person. That little follower, the descendant of the traitor, and she wanted to know where he was. At the Ding residence, they were receiving photos of Ding Shu in poor conditions, just to threaten and limit the group, so they wouldn't react. They didn't know who was truly responsible for this, nor who was behind the deaths of the third brother and the grandfather. Then a guard arrived announcing that Qiao Ji had returned to school. All the students were surprised to see him there, now that the hero is dead, as he seemed to be looking for trouble. Qiao Ji shouted in front of the school saying that when the brave dungeon dissipated, someone must have seen that battlefield. And even those who didn't see would have a video. For many years, the truth was covered up. The hero was wronged and trampled by the traitor. But there are always people who persist in seeking the facts. Qiao Zhu continued saying that now there is enough evidence to prove that the great-grandfather, Qiao En, was not a traitor, but rather a hero. Perhaps this world is about to change because of his persistence. The boy repeated that everything he said is true and that he is not afraid of verification. His ancestor was definitely not a rebel. He does not expect everyone to believe him at this moment. He said that the family members are innocent and just wants the Ding family to leave his family alone. And what they say about the generosity of the Ding family allowing the rebellious Qiao family to live in their house is a lie. The Ding family is in the public eye, so this is the moment to free the Qiao family from their control. Although with Ding Shu in charge, the little uncle and the others should be safe, it's better to rescue them soon. While the speech was happening, the security department arrived to investigate Yun Che, as he is suspected of being involved in the hero's dungeon incident. Leo read all the information he had about the boy, from childhood to now. Everything was a record of the past, but it looked very different from what is seen today. The young man fought against countless wandering species in that brave dungeon and killed the wandering lord, then disappeared for a while. It was the same period when the third son of the Ding family went missing, and he was only seen again during the hero dungeon incident. So Leo asked how his strength suddenly increased to that level and where he had been during that time. The protagonist said he didn't return to school earlier because the secret chief in the brave dungeon was too scary, so he went out to clear his head. He also stated that he has strength superior to his peers and just liked to hide it before, but suspecting he killed the hero was an exaggeration. At his age, there hadn't even been a class change, so there was no way to eliminate a hero who is, at the very least, an already evolved professional. Leo said that, indeed, an ordinary student wouldn't have the motivation or strength for something like that. But he heard that there are professionals with class changes capable of disguising themselves as other people, and he questioned whether that wasn't the case. The investigator used a skill to undo disguises, but nothing happened to the boy. Then he commented that, at his age, he should be starting to learn about the principles of communication machines. The MC replied that this is content for graduates, and that he hasn't even mastered the connection between career systems and common machines. After that response, everyone was left speechless, and Leo said that was all for today, but they would return someday. Fortunately, the protagonist recently read many general knowledge books, most of them textbooks. He remembered that the spirit of Lan Qian said that if Ding Kun died, the king would send shadow guards to investigate, and their strength far exceeds that of the hero. The people sent by Luo Wei wouldn't follow rules like those public security agents. If he doesn't adjust the routes and routine, the risk is great, but the director is only at the school for 1 hour a day, and he has never seen him enter the vault, much less opening the formation, so trying to get the nursery just through the mirror world probably won't work in the short term. Outside the school, Leo relayed the investigation results to a man, and the most obvious suspects at the moment were Yun Che and Luo Sha. The man said that Yun Sha is impossible, but that Yun Yin, who was by her side the whole time, could be another story, as she is a descendant of that rebellious Yun family. And this Yun Che, who also has the surname Yun, is indeed suspicious for being abnormal. He ordered them to keep an eye on him, and if there is any abnormality, they have permission to kill him directly. The protagonist realized he was being watched and that he would have to maintain his disguise properly from now on. This time, he didn't choose bread with meat and took the same as everyone else. In his past life, he slept outdoors and ate in the wind amidst disasters. Food was scarce, but enough to satisfy him. A classmate asked how he could eat so happily if the food there is bad, and to disguise, the boy said that hunger is the best seasoning. But the classmates told him to eat and said they would take him to the Big Bird Bar as a way of thanks. He thought it was a good idea to gather information. Maybe he would even find news about other nurseries. Only upon arriving there, everything seemed boring, and the changes were much greater than he imagined. There wouldn't be news of what he wanted there. He left the place, but didn't even know what to do, since the dungeons are controlled and ordinary people are, at most, at level 30. So it wouldn't make sense to have such information in places frequented by common people. The story of the Yun family rebellion troubled him, and the doubt was whether any friends or relatives survived, and the spirit of Lan Qian said that they are all dead. In the silence of the night, only someone like him, who doesn't fit into the world, would come to the library to look for books, but Yun Yin was already there and offered help to find a specific volume. She handed over the book related to the formation machine that he requested, and it was a work written by the school director. The girl said she couldn't sleep, and the protagonist mentioned that next time, he would bring 2 sandwiches for her. The MC asked if there were any books related to the Yun family from the past there. Yun Yin replied that he wouldn't find any, even if he searched the entire library. Before the rebellion of the Yun family, the king seemed to have a very good relationship with them. So, even now, after suffering a painful betrayal, the benevolent emperor prohibited the circulation of books related to the Yun family. The protagonist asked if there was no innocent person in the Yun family and if no one survived. She simply agreed and said that no one was innocent. Lan Qian told the boy that the king personally led the shadow guards to act. Luo Wei and the Yun family were close, so it was easy to gain trust. They attacked from behind and killed the strongest fighter, the head of the Yun family. Thus, not only the members of the Yun family but also the guards, the servants, and even the children of the servants were eliminated. No one was left. Everyone was tortured and then massacred. After Yun Che's death, Luo Wei published the rebellious acts of the master. Anyone with blood ties to the Yun family received a death order. This story only fueled the protagonist's hatred, so he went to the director's office in the mirror world and broke the formation that protected the nurseries. When they were 12 years old, the 2 brothers trained side by side. Luo Wei always destroyed many training dummies during the sessions. The MC would ask him to rest more, as he couldn't bear to see his brother pushing himself far beyond his limits. The older brother, Yun Yi, trained with more intensity than the 2. He was about to receive permission to enter the dungeons, so he couldn't relax. Even so, the 2 imagined that the effort stemmed from the fear of being surpassed by their 4-year younger brothers. The little sister always showed up with food and water during training. At that time, Yun Che had little interest in dungeons, knights, or anything of the sort. What he wanted was to live happily ever after with family and friends, but not everyone thought that way, And that's why the boy couldn't understand Luo Wei. After so many years of friendship, he destroyed everything with absurd ease. For the king, all of that was for the stability of the empire. After invading the director's plantation, the protagonist managed to complete the class change. While heading to the next target, Yunsha arrived breathless and asked for help to save Yun Yin, as payment for the favors she owed. The girl said that Yun Yin would be killed by the shadow guards. The MC asked why they would do that since she was out of the hero's dungeon case. Then the blonde girl revealed that Yun Yin is, in fact, a descendant of the rebel Yun family. That's why the Dark Guard considers her the main suspect in the hero dungeon incident. They invaded Yunsha's residence to capture Yun Yin. Even when she proved that Yun Yin wasn't even there when the hero died, it was useless. She reached out to everyone who could help, but nothing worked, and she no longer knew what to do to save her. Yunche asked where they were now, and the girl said she would show the way. But the MC asked her to stay there and just provide support, as it would be better to act alone. While running to save the girl, he wondered if Yun Yin really was a descendant of the Yun family. The doubt was how this could be possible since the Yun family had been completely wiped out by the king. The blonde girl said that, as far as she knew, the Yuns had an illegitimate son living away from home at that time. The protagonist knew the father and understood that he was strict with himself and valued his own reputation, so it was hard to believe in an affair. Perhaps the son was a descendant of the older brother. Luo Sha said that the king did not eliminate the woman out of mercy, or perhaps out of consideration for past ties. He kept her in a small mansion near the palace, but she never left there in her entire life. She didn't even know who the father of the child was, and over time, took her own breath away. Yun Yin was the daughter of that illegitimate one, who continued living in the small mansion. The MC asked how Yun Yin managed to get out and why she became her guard. Luo Sha asked if he knew that she is the daughter of the third prince of the kingdom. She was only 7 years old when she met Yun Yin. At that time, she was tired of the tedious etiquette lessons. Then she escaped to an isolated wing of the palace and saw Yun Yin being intimidated. The area near the palace was filled with the children of high officials, and many had the habit of considering themselves superior. And since Yun Yin was a descendant of rebels, no one would be punished for attacking her. In fact, many saw that bullying as a way to gain the king's favor, so they went all out to humiliate her. Even so, Yun Yin stood firm and didn't let those who provoked her get away with it. Yun Sha had seen many people cry after being beaten and reprimanded, but she had never seen such a desperate look just to protect a tattered book. She didn't understand the reason, but intervened to avoid seeing the poor girl in that situation. After that, she gave the little girl a brand new book and sent the others away. Compared to a treasure, that pile of junk seemed more important to her. Looking at that isolated corner, the blonde girl noticed it was the only spot in the hallway where sunlight came in. You could feel it might be the only warmth that Yun Yin could cling to. Even tattered and broken, it was better than the perfection offered as charity, which could vanish at any moment. After that, Yunsha started visiting that corner often. Sometimes she helped Yun Yin, and sometimes she just stayed nearby. Later, she asked the king to let Yun Yin be her guard, which avoided most of the open bullying. But the hidden assaults never stopped. They just decreased a bit after she concealed her identity and went to school. Now Yun Yin was dragged into this issue again. The Dark Guard is the unit that answers directly to the king. They are relentless and prefer to arrest the wrong person than let someone escape. And they are not just innocent, as there are several clans massacred for no reason at all. That's why Luo Sha begged the protagonist to save Yun Yin and said she would do anything to repay. Crossing the mirror world, the MC arrived at the place where Yun Yin was being interrogated. When the man was about to resume torturing her, he received a kick to the face. Startled, she looked at him, and the boy calmly asked if she was okay.
So the video ends here. If you don't want to miss the next part, activate the notification bell, and see you next time on Tob's channel.